So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a crushed out Grindal worm culture actually looks like. Now, we need to move fast and transfer these worms to start another culture. Set that aside for now, and we will use this to start another culture. I've made videos in the past where I used only strictly synthetic media like the filter floss, but having coco pit also does a lot of good, so that's why we are using coco pit here. So not a lot. I will also try to add some tips in this video on how you can actually keep on regenerating your existing culture, so you do not have to start from scratch like this each and every time. We have our filter floss and our dog food. Now, in the Philippines, because of our weather, things move really fast. Now, if you are looking at videos of this in the internet and you hear them say something like check on the cultures every 2 or 3 days, well, I'm sorry, that is not applicable here in the Philippines because of our very high humidity, high heat environment. If you do that, check on the cultures every 2 or 3 days, then by that time you will have no more culture, because in hot weather the metabolism of the animals are so fast that they start the culture fast, they poop a lot because they eat a lot. Also, they crash sooner. So this is the case. Now I'm not going to try to discourage anybody trying to culture Grindal worms, but you really need to check on the cultures every other 12 hours. Now, you need to, like a sprayer or your turkey baster or something, I gently run water across it and try to aim that the worms will land on the dog food. So the sooner they start eating that, the sooner the culture will start. There. Let's check on that. Also, this is a reality here because we have a lot of insects around. You will also have maggots. There are still a lot of worms here, but if you look closely at them, they have turned from white to yellowish, and then it will eventually turn transparent. The only ones that are really alive are the ones on the top that are trying to escape. The ones you find here would be already dead because they're not moving at all. So we have to check this. So again, I keep telling people, if you are the skittish kind of guy or girl, culturing Grindal worms is not for you. So you're gonna have to buy your own live food. We add the plastic thingy in there. We close it up and wait for 2 or 3 days to see if this is working. A lot of critters will come inside your culture. I have given up trying to totally eradicate that. Even the rats, they will try to bite the container. So that's just culturing Grindal worms in the Philippines to manage your expectations. And that is what you... So right there and then, you can give up, but I choose to feed these guys to my fish. Yeah. Now, this is just one of the banes of culturing live food. You will get other insects like maggots, also drain flies, a lot of other strange beetles, mites. The tiny ones, the red tiny ones are annoying because they will bite you. But the insects that will directly kill your Grindal worms are going to be ants. Although ants are much easier to control, just use the Tero ant killer and they will avoid the site of the culture. Even if there were maggots here, I'm going to try and put food there. Even if the maggots come back, I will just feed them again. So yeah, instead of worrying about maggots, use them. Okay, I want to talk to you about how you can keep a culture going without having to restart a culture each and every time, which can be a pain in the butt. Now, once you notice that a culture is slowing down, I would suggest that you do not wait for it to totally crash. Okay, to move forward, the culture is trying to move forward, but I think this is soiled so bad that it's just not happening as efficiently. And what you can do is, I'll just remove the food. Remove the food or any food, and then you put in a fresh top layer material. Now put the food back, and what's gonna happen is in 12 hours or so, all the worms underneath are going to migrate into this new pad. So it's much easier than restarting a culture, putting in your coco pit substrate or your artificial, your synthetic substrate, and then starting from scratch. This definitely lets you keep the culture going for a much longer period of time. But I have to say, it is not an infinite. You cannot keep doing this forever, because the coco pit is going to soil, and eventually, in about 6 weeks, you are going to need to restart the culture. So just bear that in mind. Another technique that I use to extend the life of culture is this. Example, this is a fairly new culture, and it just started to gain some momentum. Now what I do is, right now everything is clean because it's new, but after about a few days, the area where you put your food is going to get soiled. So don't keep on putting food in this location. So I might put after a few 2 to 3 days, there's going to be a lot more worms, so I put a pellet here and a pellet here, and then that goes on for another 2 to 3 days, and then I might shift that somewhere where I do not see that it's soiled, so I might put it here and here. Eventually I will consume the whole pad, and then I will also do the other trick. Remember the first one that I just put a fresh pad on top to migrate all the worms there. So this drastically extends the life of a culture, so you don't have to keep on restarting each and every time.
The next day.
Okay guys, it's already morning, and let's check up on the cultures that we just put a fresh media on the top. Look, already the worms have migrated to the fresh media, and it's only been less than 12 hours, so more worms will probably traverse here. And in fact, if you can see them, there are still some worms in the old media trying to make their way up to the new media. Now eventually I will throw away the lower media and just leave the top one in there, because although the cocoa pit is wet, it is not yet dark, it's still reddish in color, so it's still okay. But whatever the case may be, use your judgment and you will know when to change everything, which one you will change, the lowest substrate or the old one. You will just know. And when this, in a couple of days, I will switch the position of the food. This one is here and here, and on a couple of days I might switch it to here or here, someplace where there is no soil yet. When I say soil, I'm not referring to soil as in garden soil. I'm referring to it is soiled, or meaning a lot of waste has already accumulated on that portion. So I will go with a cleaner portion until I completely use this. Guys, I want to share something with you. I actually tried this before already, but I was unsuccessful because the rats would come and take away the bait. But look at this, I'm using fly paper and I'm baiting it with the same dog food that I'm using on the cultures. And if you look closely here, the tiny, these are the fruit flies, and apparently it's very effective at catching these guys. So if you put a piece of food here, they're not going to try to go inside the cultures anymore, and they will eat what they can find so easily. You know, the path of least resistance. And as they hop around, they get stuck to the fly paper, and I really think this is a very effective method of controlling the maggots. And if we go to the back here, even more flies are caught. Now I was already in the process of buttoning up this video, and I did not want to share it. In fact, I already exported the video, but I had to, go back, edit it out, and include this just to show you. So a piece of fly paper with some bait, and the fruit flies, the species that I am dealing with, like to go into the bait. So they land on the bait, and sometimes they hop into the fly paper, and they end up getting caught. So this is even a lizard is caught. So this is a much more efficient method. By the way, note again, these are not flies, these are graphics on the fly paper. What we're dealing with is the small ones here. These are the fruit flies that seem to be prevalent in my area. And these are the ones that are laying eggs and making the tiny maggots that I see in my cultures. Anyway, hope this video is very helpful for you. And if you're planning on breeding fish, live food is essential, so this is definitely a good way to go. Always culture your own live food. And thanks again. Please like and subscribe. It really helped me grow my channel. And bye.